As an electric vehicle channel, we're already a big fan of everything electric, but like most people, it's difficult for us to keep all of our devices charged and ready to go when we're out on the road with loads of gear. So when AFRY approached us to review their portable power station, the P210 2400 watt, we couldn't wait to put it through the paces. I don't think they really intended for me to try to charge my Tesla on it, but the channel is called Dave Takes It On. Did they not know that we concentrated on hands-on EV charging? So maybe that one's on them. Well, for all you new viewers to the channel, we travel the country looking for news, views, reviews and interviews so that we can keep you, our viewers, fully up to date with everything EV. For our regular viewers, welcome back. Well, as the channel grows, so does our video and studio equipment. In the studio, it's fine. We got plenty of power, mains power available. But when we get out on the road, it's a very different matter. So while we have a very specific use in mind for this power station, we actually discovered that this has a multitude of uses besides for videoing, especially if you've got young children or grandchildren. This battery power station might just make your life a whole lot easier and much more fun. And of course we answer the question, what happens when you plug your Tesla Model S into it? Can this be used like a can of petrol in the boot? Let's see. I'm going to take a very brief moment to show you the product, but first, why are we reviewing this product and what do we get out of it? Well, I have to say we are not sponsored. We do not get paid in any way for this review. Full stop. This is our usual objective review of any product we look at and test, be that a power station here or a new Swarco or Tesla EV charger out on an installation. The only difference we have is here they've sent us a sample review power station to test. However, for your benefit, if any of you are thinking of buying one, we've negotiated an additional discount. You simply use the promo code down below in the description for £200 off on Amazon. And no, just to confirm, if you do order one, we don't get any commission or payment either. Now, obviously, the manufacturer does not even get to see the video before we launch it. It really is a review as we find out. So if you have subscribed and clicked the bell notification icon, you may well be seeing this video before they do. Now the packing's really good, it's very robust. It is surprising just how heavy this one is. I should stress for our use, but it's got to be something really beefy. But most people may prefer one of their smaller, lighter models. There's more on these later. Very well packaged and cushioned, and being heavy is actually quite tricky to get out of the box. It's a very tight fit. I found I just laid it on the side and slid it out. And it is a beautiful looking unit for a techie like me. Buttons, sockets, switches, screens everywhere. But essentially it's a big battery. You charge it up on the mains, or you can do it via solar panels or your 12-volt socket in your EV. On mains it takes about 2 hours from flat. Well, if you're like me, you really don't want to hear about and see all the various bits and pieces, so let's cut all that out. It's got all the outlets you'll ever need. Oh, quick mention to the overload button on the side. Push it too far and it just trips and needs to be reset by that button. It's claimed to be fully protected, and we certainly can't dispute that claim. Now, we can actually put this through the paces far more if we go and use it for our video work. So let's see how it stood up. Now, we do carry a lot of gear and all of it can run off rechargeable batteries, but they don't last long, even the big ones. Smartphone's great for photos and short videos, but try anything more and the battery crashes really quickly. Now, most of our still photos are taken on a Pixel 8 Pro, but battery life is not that good. And of course the smartphone mic is pretty useless for videos. If you plug in an external microphone, say through the USB-C port, it's much better, but that of course increases the battery use, and it also means you can't plug it in to recharge. Well, a primary camera for walk and talk, gimbal shot is now a DJI Pocket 3. That's one of these. which likewise chews through batteries. Even with the optional battery handle, we get well under 2 hours. This is nice and lightweight, it's very good quality. Now for most of our static tripod videos, including time-lapse and interviews, we use a pair of Blackmagic cinema cameras, one's 4K, one's 6K, and these really blast through the batteries. It's these, maybe half an hour per battery, it's really poor. We also have a gimbal for this camera, the 4K, but that ends up with a very heavy rig, and so we keep that for special use. Most video shots we do use a combination of all of these, and that means we might use up the battery on the smartphone, the 2 batteries on the Pocket 3, and maybe 4 or 5 of the cinema cameras all in one go. And that could take under an hour of actual filming at our very first location. And before you say, yeah, your videos are only 10 or 15 minutes long, it's very rare if I can stand in front of the camera and do the first take perfectly, or even the third. Oh, by the way, we do post some of our outtakes and behind the scenes shots on our Patreon page, stuff we just don't upload to YouTube. If you're interested in seeing any of this, please check out the Patreon link down below. So we could drive an hour or more to get to the location. We can do an hour's filming and have a bag of half a dozen or more flat batteries. And my Tesla Model S only has 2 USB sockets, and they're not that fast. Also, you cannot leave the batteries charging in the car while you go and have a cup of coffee or lunch and to discuss the next shot, as nearly all cars, mine included, switch off the sockets shortly after you lock them as to preserve the battery. But that's enough of our problems, because the power station solved all of that. If it's dry, we could simply plug everything into it and run straight off the station. In repeated uses and tests, the time remaining has never got anywhere near to flattening it. But here comes the magic bit. If it's raining or absolutely belting it down, as it was on our recent trip to Scotland, we did 6 stops at various services for filming, we just don't use it. But once we finish filming at any one stop and have loads of flat batteries, we can simply plug everything in to the power station all at once and then set off to our next destination. It's got very high power sockets, USB sockets and main sockets, and so using those, the devices are usually or absolutely full, even if the trip is just 20 minutes up the road to the next motorway services. It's amazingly fast with a powerful charger. And then when we do stop for lunch, we can again plug everything in all at once. We can put it all in the boot, lock the car, and it will keep charging while we go away for lunch. But trying it out on the road opened up some of this potential this power station can offer, besides for making videos. So I love picnics, and places like Halfords and Amazon sell the portable cool boxes that run off your cigar lighter. If you run it off the power station instead, it doesn't switch off when you lock your car and go for a walk. Your food actually stays cool. Or plug in a coffee maker. You can get one of those pod varieties, what are they called, Tassimos or whatever, and you can actually make your favourite brew for a fraction of the cost. That runs off the mains, plugs into this. Or you can boil a camping kettle and have a proper cup of tea. And these really do make a difference. But the most dramatic was for the kids and the grandkids. You see, my wife and I were retired, semi-retired, and we have children and grandchildren. I also have Jonas, who does not drive. And I have the 7-seater Model S. So guess who's the chauffeur for when we spend time with them? Now, when I was a kid, journeys were long and boring. My sister couldn't read in the car as it made her car sick. And my brother and I found fighting was a great distraction. How times have changed. We're in the technology age. Kids today all have smartphones. In fact, many schools require them for homework and assignments. And for the toddlers, well, my youngest granddaughter is just 2 years old. She spends a great deal of time on a tablet watching Peppa Pig. So if we do go on a day out, I end up the only one in the car not using any device. The power station's on the floor under the baby seat. The boys are right in the back with the 2 back seats. Each of those, we've got a 3-meter extension cable that reaches right through them, so they can keep the smartphones plugged in all the time, and they can play their Minecraft or Pokemon or whatever it is they play. It doesn't matter how far we drive. Peppa Pig is permanently plugged in and plays until well after she falls asleep, and is there when she wakes up again. Like Jonas's wife, she's Hungarian, has countless friends and relatives, and she's in constant contact with them. Jonas also spends time browsing on the internet or searching for news articles for the channel. And meanwhile, my wife is buying up most of Facebook Marketplace or Vinted. I know after a weekend away or even a day out, I know I'll be answering the door to the regular delivery drivers for the rest of the week. Plus, our cool box is chilling nicely in the fruit. Oh, sorry, that's the front boot. See, in America, they call it the trunk at the back or the front trunk or frunk. Now, here I call it a front boot, which is a fruit. Well, just an interesting note, on a recent trip to France, we loaded the fruit with wine and food on the way home, and at the ferry port we got stopped by customs and had to empty out the whole boot. They opened up cases, they checked every case, they checked the inside of the car. Nobody ever asked us to open the fruit, and of course, we didn't volunteer. Of course, had they opened it, we were well under our legal limits, I think. Well, for days out or road trips, Power Station is just brilliant. The Power Station for me personally is multi-purpose. I can use it for both work and pleasure. It's worth it for either one of those alone, but it's brilliant for both. But if your primary use is days out or holidays, there are smaller, lighter models like the baby of the collection, the P010 800-watt station. It's really handy, plenty big enough for the longest journey with a car full of children, and still useful around the house. And no power in your garage? Well, take the fully charged Power Station with you. I can use all your power tools without trailing extension leads. Electric lawnmower? Don't trail extension leads across your grass. That's a recipe for disaster. Just take the Power Station out there and plug in locally. Now back home, I admit I would not buy one of these just for running the house in case of a power cut. Well, first, they're not cheap. And second, we very rarely get power cuts. However, in a test, it ran my TV, satellite box, router, sandbar, surround sound, and a couple of lamps, and the display showed it was good for about 12 to 14 hours. But the most interesting use I found is as a UPS or uninterruptible power system. Now, put simply, using the TV as an example, you can plug your TV, satellite, lamps, everything else into the power station, but plug the power station into the mains. Now, what actually happens is the battery will remain fully charged at all times, and if ever the power cuts off, it just flicks straight onto the power station instantly. It's barely a flicker. So if you do suffer from power cuts, this is cool. And if you leave the house, you need the power station, just unplug it, take it with you. But extend this one further and look at the solar panels that you can get. I've not tested these, but these are not permanent panels fixed to your roof. These are portable. They roll up, go in the boot. You can hang them on your walls, stick them in the garden, lay them out on the lawn, put them on your garage roof, just temporarily. And you just plug them straight into the power station. Well, now if you plug your TV, satellite, etc. into the power station, you can run your media, TV and satellite, for a good part of the year, totally free. And these things draw about 100, 150 watts if they're on 10 hours a day, 365 days a year. What, 10 hours you say? That's a lot? Not at all. You see, most people turn the television on in the morning when they get up, and it's on for an hour or so while they're getting ready. It's in the background, catching up on the latest news, and then it's turned on again during the night for watching film in the evening, sitting around with dinner, and watching programs before you go to bed. So it's probably also on a lot more at the weekends, particularly if it's like it has been recently, tipping it down outside and you're stuck inside and all you've got is the TV. But don't forget, if you're drawing even to 100 watts, and you do that 10 hours a day, that's 365 days a year, that's 365 kilowatt hours. The standard variable tariff is now around 27p, so even if this does just, I don't know, half the work, could save you £50 or £60 a year, which with an average annual bill, it's working out about £80 a month, about £900 a year. That's a saving of over 5%. Plus, of course, at any time, if you want to go out for a picnic, camping, whatever, you just unplug everything, take it with you. And when you get out, you can then save money on expensive coffees. and the cakes you have to buy at the same time. So you can plug in your Tassimo machine or whatever it is. Okay, finally the big one. You knew I'd get round to it. What happens when I plug my Tesla 3-pin charger into the power station? Okay, didn't work. I plugged into the external wall socket I have, weatherproof wall socket, worked perfectly. So it's not the cable or the adapter. I plugged it into the P210 power station. It didn't work. I just got red lights. Tried several times, used different settings, but it did not charge my Tesla Model S. Now, regular viewers will know I won't leave it there. There is a reason it doesn't work on my EV, but does work on my TV. I'll be getting back in touch with the manufacturers, but this is actually more of an academic exercise than a solution to running out of battery. The AFRY P210 has a capacity of roughly 2 kilowatt hours and can provide 2 kilowatts of power. Now 2 kilowatts hour, if it did work, would give me around 6-mile range. So if I really ran out of battery, I'd just miss the last services and the next services was 15 miles distance, I'd be no use whatsoever. Also, charging a 2 kilowatt would take forever. So for me, the purpose of this review was never going to be, does it work as an emergency charge to my EV? Never was going to be. But interesting to find out. But now my curiosity will force me to find the answer. If AFRY make them, someone there must know. And my Model S is here if they need to test it. Well, overall, I am hugely impressed. It's solid, well built, and with a range of models and sizes, most people would gain some or a lot of benefit from having one. Whether you actually want one, that's up to you. Well, thanks very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please give us a like, and if you want to see more, please subscribe and click the notification bell. For those who want to support the channel, take a look at our Patreon membership. Link to that down below. Thank you to all our viewers, our subscribers, and existing Patreon members. You help us make these videos. For anyone who's interested in an AFRY power station, I've included the links below. If you buy through Amazon, use the relevant promo code to get £200 discount and an extra 6%. Happy picnics and camping. I'm Dave.